Top 15 Alchemist Stones. The secret chemistry of immortality. A stone said to turn metal into gold, heal all diseases, and grant eternal life. Yet no one has ever truly seen it, and those who search for it often vanished in their pursuit. Why was this mysterious object believed to be the stone that could change human history itself? From medieval furnaces and burned alchemical manuscripts to modern laboratories still chasing its secret, the Philosopher's Stone remains the greatest enigma in the history of transformation. If you skip this video, you may misjudge the actual value of the stones humanity once worshipped. Collectors have lost millions of dollars by misunderstanding a gem they thought they knew. Proof that the line between science and legend is thinner than we imagine. This is Top 15 Alchemist's Stones, the secret chemistry of immortality. A journey through gemstones that are not only rare and beautiful, but also keys linking science, faith, and the eternal human desire to transcend time. If this is your first time joining Tops, hit subscribe and like to follow the next chapters of this journey, where every stone reveals a hidden story time itself tried to bury. Ranked 15th, Galena, the dark beginning of alchemy, a black glimmer under torchlight, a fragment of ore heavy as sin, silent as death. Archaeologists working in a 2,000-year-old furnace near Anatolia found traces of molten lead still fused to the rock, the first alchemical laboratory in human history. What the ancients saw in this dull metallic cube was not poison, but potential. Galena, the mineral that turned men into alchemists. Across civilizations, lead was the metal of origin and corruption alike. In Roman mines of Lorient, in Chinese Taoist manuals, and in Arabic treatises of Jabir ibn Hayyan, Galena was described as the sleeping dragon, base matter awaiting purification. To the alchemist, lead was humanity itself, impure, imperfect, and heavy with desire. In China's Tang dynasty, Cinnabar and Galena were mixed in crucibles in the pursuit of the elixir of immortality. The fumes were lethal. Emperors and monks alike died inhaling mercury vapor, believing they were breathing eternity. Yet the obsession endured, because Galena, dark and cold, seemed to whisper, "From this corruption, perfection will rise." Scientifically, Galena is simple. Lead sulfide, PBS, a primary ore born from hydrothermal veins deep beneath Earth's crust. Its metallic cubes reflect light like black mirrors, sharp-edged and geometric. Nature's architecture of order in chaos. Crystals form near zinc and silver deposits, a quiet hint that where Galena lives, treasures follow. But its weight made it both curse and catalyst, heavy, toxic, immovable. And yet it carried within it silver, the bright soul of metal. Every furnace that smelted lead was a reenactment of the great work, turning darkness into light. By the 17th century, Galena had left the laboratory for the factory. Alchemists faded, miners took their place. Lead pipes channeled water through Roman cities. Later they sealed bullets, printed words, and powered batteries. The same ore that once promised eternal life now powered human civilization and poisoned it. In modern markets, Galena's value is not in jewelry but in industry. Yet to collectors, cubic clusters from Missouri's Tri-State District or Peru's Huanzala mine gleam with sculptural perfection. Mounted in silver, they become paradoxes, beauty born from toxicity. Even now, gem enthusiasts note its leaden sheen, its dangerous magnetism, its refusal to sparkle like ordinary minerals. It does not seduce, it warns. In spiritual alchemy, Galena marks the nigredo, the blackening, the first stage of transformation. Every alchemist began here, in decay, in weight, in silence. To reach gold, one must first endure the shadow. That was Galena's true lesson, that immortality begins in failure, not triumph. To this day, ceremonial alchemists in Europe keep fragments of Galena on their altars as a reminder. Enlightenment starts with impurity. If you've ever seen beauty in something others discard, this stone speaks to you. Tell us in the comments, what would you transform if you could begin again? Inside a museum drawer in Basel, a small vial sits forgotten, labeled plumbum nigrum, 1557. The lead dust inside is inert now, sealed in glass. But for centuries, men risked everything to heat, grind, and breathe it, believing that inside this dust lay the chemistry of the soul. Their notebooks remain, pages of equations, burns, prayers, and failure. All that's left of the dream of immortality, archived in lead. But not all alchemists sought immortality in darkness. Some looked to the element of fire and found a crystal that burned without dying. Ranked 14th, Sulfur Crystals, the fire that never dies. A yellow flame dances on the lip of a volcanic crater. The air stings with the smell of burnt eggs. Sulfur dioxide. Yet within that choking smoke, something shines. Delicate golden crystals, glowing with their own light. For ancient alchemists, sulfur wasn't a mineral. It was the soul of fire itself, both creator and destroyer. They called it the spirit that burns but does not die. In temples from Babylon to Egypt, sulfur was used to cleanse the dead and to summon gods. In the Hebrew texts, the fire and brimstone that rained upon Sodom became the symbol of divine wrath. But to the alchemist, it meant something else: purification through pain. By the 12th century, European manuscripts began describing sulfur as one of the three sacred principles of matter, alongside mercury and salt. It represented the soul, volatile, invisible, eternal. The moment a metal turned to vapor, alchemists whispered, "Sulfur is rising." In Taoist alchemy, yellow sulfur was mixed into powders believed to ignite life. It was dangerous, explosive, but revered, the bridge between death and rebirth. Chemically, sulfur is a pure element, S, born from volcanoes and hydrothermal vents. It crystallizes in canary yellow prisms, often transparent and sharp-edged, glowing faintly under UV light. Most deposits are found in volcanic belts: Italy's Mount Etna, Indonesia's Kawah Ijen, and Japan's Kusatsu. Sulfur's fire is no metaphor. At just 115 degrees Celsius, it melts into blood-red liquid, the very color medieval texts described as the essence of the dragon. At 444 degrees Celsius, it vaporizes into blue flame, the so-called living fire, still seen in the volcanoes of Java today. The same element that poisons lungs also sustains life. Every cell in the human body contains sulfur. It forms amino acids, vitamins, and enzymes. Without it, there is no metabolism, no renewal, no life. To the alchemist, this contradiction meant revelation, that immortality was not a gift, but a reaction. You burn, you transform, and only then do you transcend. In sulfur is the seed of resurrection, the yellow flame of divine fermentation. By the Renaissance, sulfur had become the soul in the alchemical trinity: mercury, spirit, motion; salt, body, matter; sulfur, soul, energy. Alchemy was never about making gold. It was about learning the chemistry of existence itself. Sulfur was their teacher. If this paradox fascinates you, how one element can kill and create, leave a comment below. Every reaction begins with curiosity. In modern science, sulfur is no longer mystical. It's medicine, fertilizer, and matchsticks. Yet in every match's spark, every volcanic breath, its ancient symbolism lingers: the fire that cleanses, the flame that transforms. Even now, miners at Kawah Ijen walk through toxic fumes to harvest pure sulfur by hand. They call it devil's gold. But in that hellish glow lies the same ancient promise: through destruction comes creation. For centuries, sulfur was blamed for the stench of the underworld. Today, it's in the medicines that heal lungs and skin, in the fertilizers that feed the world. The fire once feared as infernal became the chemistry of renewal. The myth inverted itself. The devil's stone turned into the element of life. But not all transformations are born in fire. Some emerge from the reflection of poison and purification in death. Ranked 13th, Antimony, the poison that purified alchemy. Under the bright lights of a modern hospital, a vial of clear fluid glows faintly blue. It's antimony tartrate, injected to treat parasitic diseases, a life-saving drug. Few realize that inside this medicine lies the same element that once poisoned kings and priests. The alchemists called it stybium, and they believed it could purge the soul itself. Today we use it to purge infection. The line between poison and cure was drawn in antimony. To medieval alchemists, antimony was not just a metal, it was the mirror that revealed corruption. When they melted it, its surface turned glassy, silvery, reflective, the mirror of truth. In that reflection, they claimed to see their own flaws, both physical and moral. 16th century texts describe antimony as the beast of Saturn, a devourer of impurities that leaves only essence behind. They mixed it with gold to spiritualize the metal, believing the alloy would never tarnish. But often it exploded in their crucibles, releasing fumes of death. They didn't know it then. They were inhaling antimony oxide, a neurotoxin. Yet in their eyes, death itself was purification. They believed the soul, like metal, must pass through dissolution before rebirth. Antimony is a metalloid, part metal, part nonmetal. Found in veins of quartz and hydrothermal deposits, it forms needle-like crystals of stibnite, Sb2s3, shimmering in gunmetal gray. Primary sources today lie in China, Bolivia, and Tajikistan. When pure, it breaks easily, fragile as glass. But when alloyed, it strengthens lead, turning weakness into endurance. That dual nature, fragile yet fortifying, perfectly mirrored the alchemist's dream. Imperfection transformed into power. Even its name is a paradox. Antimony comes from the Latin antimonium, possibly from antimoine, against the monk, because so many monks died experimenting with it. By the 17th century, doctors in Europe began testing antimony compounds as purgatives. The French physician Nicolas Lemery called it the metal of the stomach, dangerous but cleansing. In the 1600s Paris, antimony wine became a fashionable cure. In truth, it caused vomiting and collapse. But through centuries of experimentation, the dream persisted, that somewhere in this toxic shimmer lay a secret of renewal. And they were not entirely wrong. Modern chemistry discovered antimony's antimicrobial and antiparasitic power. Today, it's a component in treatments for leishmaniasis, a deadly tropical disease. The same element that once killed alchemists now saves lives. In alchemical symbolism, antimony represented the wild spirit of man, half beast, half divine. It was drawn as a wolf devouring the sun, the inner self consuming impurities to be reborn clean. Some saw in it a warning, knowledge itself can be lethal. Others saw a promise, that even poison can become medicine when understood. Antimony became the mirror that showed both faces of human nature. Destruction and salvation intertwine. If this story of paradox fascinates you, how death and healing can share one element, leave a comment below. What do you think? Was alchemy madness or the first glimpse of modern science? We end where they began. The modern vial fades, replaced by a medieval crucible bubbling black. A scribe coughs. The air fills with metallic smoke. He believes the fumes are the soul leaving the metal, not realizing it's his own breath burning away. Centuries later, doctors use the same element in sterilized glass to save lives. Alchemy inverted itself. Death became medicine. And antimony, the mirror of mortality, still stares back. But before alchemists learned to heal through poison, they learned to ignite the spirit itself. The next stone carried the flame of dragons and gods alike. Cinnabar, ranked 12th. Cinnabar, the red stone that promised eternal life. Deep beneath the mountains of Guizhou, miners strike a vein of crimson that glows like wet blood. The rock is heavy, toxic, and hypnotic. Cinnabar, mercury sulfide. For 2,000 years, emperors drank it, priests inhaled it, and alchemists swore it held the secret to immortality. They called it the dragon's blood of the earth, but its promise was poison. In ancient China's Han and Tang dynasties, cinnabar was refined into Dan, the alchemical elixir of life. Emperors demanded it daily, believing it could preserve youth, illuminate the spirit, and unite the mortal with the divine. Records say Emperor Qin Shi Huang died on such a potion, mercury poisoning disguised as enlightenment. In Taoist texts, mercury and sulfur represented the dance of yin and yang, the union of heaven and earth, soul and matter. Cinnabar was the child of both. To ingest it was to drink the essence of transformation itself. But the transformation it granted was always the same, from life to silence. Across Persia, Rome, and Byzantium, alchemists chased Cinnabar's secret. They noticed that when heated, it released quicksilver, pure liquid mercury, a miracle, solid stone turning into flowing metal. To them, this was the proof that matter could change form, that death could flow into life. They did not know it was vaporizing poison. Those who worked with it coughed up silver, trembled, and lost their memory, hearing, and eventually their sanity. In their final writings, many described visions of eternal light. Science now calls it mercury delirium. Cinnabar, chemically mercury sulfide, forms in hydrothermal veins, volcanic vents, and geothermal springs. Its red crystals grow beside quartz and calcite, often shining with metallic luster. Mines in Spain's Almaden and China's Guiyou supplied nearly all the mercury on Earth for centuries. It is beautiful, deadly, and unearthly, a mineral that bleeds. When ground and polished, cinnabar becomes vermilion, the sacred pigment of emperors and temples. It colored manuscripts, royal seals, and the eyes of statues meant to see the divine. Even in art, its toxicity endured, a warning painted into every masterpiece. To alchemists, the redness of cinnabar meant life in its purest form, but they misunderstood the lesson. The stone's nature was never immortality. It was transformation through death. Mercury symbolized the soul, fluid, restless, impossible to contain. Sulfur symbolized fire. Their union, cinnabar, was the perfect marriage of spirit and flame, but also the perfect trap. Every pursuit of eternal life ends the same way, by reminding us what mortality is. If this paradox fascinates you, how beauty and death can coexist in one crystal, share your thoughts below. Do you think humanity was wrong to chase immortality? Or was it our most human act? In a sealed tomb from the Han Dynasty, archaeologists found the body of a prince buried in powdery red dust. Every bone was stained crimson. Tests confirmed mercury. 2,000 years later, his body remains preserved. Not alive, not gone, suspended in red silence. The dream of immortality, achieved but never awakened. But not every path to eternity burns or poisons. Some preserve, quietly, invisibly, keeping time itself from decay. Ranked 11th. Salt, the mineral that preserves time. In the heart of a desert mine, the air is dry enough to stop time. A miner's lamp catches the glint of something pale. Not crystal, not bone, but salt. The same mineral that once sealed the flesh of pharaohs, purified temples, and kept food alive for centuries. When alchemists wrote of immortality, they often began not with fire, but with salt, the mineral that never dies. From the Dead Sea to the Himalayas, salt shaped civilizations. It was traded like gold, taxed like silver, and fought over like land. The Roman word salarium, salt money, gave birth to the modern salary. To the ancients, salt was purity made visible. It preserved meat, healed wounds, and consecrated rituals. In Egypt, priests rubbed salt into the skin of the dead to stop decay, to hold time still. For millennia, every culture saw salt not as seasoning, but as a spell against loss. In Christian texts, it was referred to as the covenant of God's endurance. In Japan, sumo wrestlers still throw salt before battle, a gesture to cleanse space. In all of them, salt means the same thing: what remains when life has passed. For the medieval alchemists, salt was one of the three principles of matter: mercury, spirit, movement; sulfur, soul, energy; salt, body, permanence. If mercury was the ghost and sulfur was the flame, salt was the tomb, the physical vessel that allowed change to happen without corruption. They said, "In salt lies the secret of eternity, to endure without changing. Some mixed salt into their elixirs not to create life, but to keep it from fading. Salt was their symbol of the body purified, the vessel that could survive death's fire. Scientifically, salt is sodium chloride, NaCl, one of Earth's simplest compounds. It forms when seawater evaporates, leaving cubic crystals, perfect symmetry born from stillness. Ancient oceans trapped beneath mountains turned into entire salt deserts, such as Bolivia's Salar de Uyuni, a mirror reflecting the sky. In those reflections, photographers today capture infinity itself, a modern echo of alchemy's dream. Each grain of salt is a geological time capsule. It can trap air bubbles, microorganisms, and even fragments of DNA for millions of years. Inside halite crystals found in New Mexico, scientists revived microbes from 250 million years ago. Proof that salt can literally preserve life beyond time. In ancient rituals, salt was sprinkled to bind vows, seal offerings, or banish evil. In households, a pinch of spilled salt meant misfortune, unless you cast it over your shoulder to blind the devil behind you. Salt entered our myths as something incorruptible, clean, and eternal. But more than myth, it became the first human tool to resist decay. Before refrigeration, salt was immortality in a jar. If you've ever tasted the ocean and felt something ancient awaken, you've already met this stone. Tell us in the comments, do you believe something so simple could hold eternity? In the ruins of Pompeii, archaeologists found loaves of bread, charred black but dusted with salt, the only thing that didn't burn. In Egyptian tombs, all that remains of the embalmer's art are crystalline flakes around empty coffins. The bodies, the gold, the prayers, all gone. Only salt remained. It is preserved by absence, not by what it gives, but by what it refuses to let go. But while salt preserves the body, another stone preserves the truth, black as night and sharper than memory. Ranked 10th, Obsidian, the mirror that saw the soul. A blade glints under torchlight, not metal, but glass, born of fire. Its edge is sharper than steel, its surface dark as night. This is obsidian, volcanic glass, created when molten rock cools too fast for crystals to form. For thousands of years, humans saw their own reflection in it and mistook it for something divine. In Mesoamerica, it wasn't just a tool, it was a portal. In ancient Mexico, priests of the Aztec god Tezcatlipoca, the smoking mirror, used obsidian to divine the will of the gods. They gazed into polished black discs, seeking visions of destiny, death, and rebirth. Spanish chroniclers described them as watching clouds form inside stone. To the Maya, obsidian was the eye of creation, where the first human saw himself and recognized his soul. They carved mirrors and knives from it, both instruments of knowledge and sacrifice, because to see one's reflection was to confront mortality. The same blade that opened the body also opened the spirit. In alchemy, obsidian symbolized the stage of melanosis, the blackening of consciousness before enlightenment. Every transformation, they said, begins with the descent into darkness, the facing of one's shadow. Even now, psychologists echo that truth. We cannot transform what we refuse to see. The Alchemist's mirror has become the human mind itself. Modern science recognizes obsidian as amorphous volcanic glass, a material so sharp it can split cells cleanly and is still used in surgical scalpels today. The same stone that opened hearts on ancient altars now opens arteries in modern hospitals. Different age, same precision, same reflection. Formed from lava rich in silica, obsidian cools so rapidly that no crystals can grow. The result? A perfect black sheen, sometimes iridescent, sometimes streaked with gold, silver, or rainbow hues, depending on trapped gas bubbles or magnetite inclusions. It's found in volcanic belts from Armenia to Japan, Mexico to Iceland. When polished, it becomes a flawless mirror, pure liquid shadow. Gem cutters describe its luster as the stillness of night. To hold it is to have the memory of Earth's fire, frozen in an instant. Collectors prize rainbow obsidian for its shifting colors and Apache tears for their legend. Drops of sorrow turn to stone. For shamans, obsidian remains a tool of clarity, used to reveal truth, strip illusion, and cut away deceit. In both ancient and modern rites, it is less an ornament and more a question. Can you face what you see? In some cultures, mirrors of obsidian were placed beside the dead to reflect their souls toward the afterlife. It wasn't meant to show beauty, but honesty. If you've ever stared into darkness and found yourself looking back, this stone is your reflection. Tell us below, what do you think you'd see if you gazed into the world's oldest mirror? The camera closes on the mirror's surface. For a moment it reflects nothing, only light. Then slowly, a face emerges. Not ancient, not modern, just human. The obsidian doesn't answer. It only watches, because transformation begins not in gold or fire, but in the courage to look within. But once we face the darkness, something stirs within the green heart of the earth, a force of renewal and protection. Malachite, ranked 9th. Malachite, the green stone, that transforms decay into life. Under the light of a torch deep in the Ural Mountains, the walls shimmer like veins of emerald fire. It isn't jade nor emerald, it's malachite, copper carbonate hydroxide. In ancient furnaces, it burned blue, the first pigment of human civilization. In temples and tombs, it guarded the threshold between life and death. To the alchemists, it was the stone of transformation, born of poison, yet radiant with life. Malachite's story begins with copper, the metal of Venus, radiant, conductive, but deadly in excess. The ancients learned this through pain. Copper mines made workers ill, yet the stone they unearthed shimmered like divine skin. They called it malach, from the Greek for mallow leaf, because of its soft green bands. Egyptians crushed it into powder for eye paint, believing it protected them from evil spirits and disease. In truth, they were applying copper oxide, toxic in large doses, antibacterial in small ones. Like the soul of alchemy itself, malachite straddled the line between harm and healing. In medieval Europe, mothers hung it around children's necks as talismans against nightmares. In Russia, it adorned palaces and cathedrals, a luxury that also whispered of power and danger. Malachite forms where copper veins meet water and carbonate minerals, a slow chemical ballet of corrosion and rebirth. Every green swirl records the breath of oxygen, turning metal into color. Its vivid stripes, light to dark green, are growth rings of transformation, geological fingerprints of time healing metal wounds. From Congo's Katanga region to Arizona's Bisbee mines, malachite grows in stalactitic masses, velvet-like crusts, or concentric eyes. When cut and polished, it reveals hypnotic waves, like fingerprints of the earth remembering its own metamorphosis. To gemologists, malachite isn't rare, but no two patterns are ever the same. It's not valued for scarcity, but for individuality, just like the human soul it symbolizes. In alchemical language, malachite represented the green lion, the devourer that dissolves metals and purifies gold. They said, when the green lion eats the sun, light is reborn, purified. In modern chemistry, that metaphor translates perfectly. Malachite dissolves under acid to release pure copper, light emerging from darkness. Alchemy had found its chemistry. To the philosophers of transformation, malachite was the heart chakra of the earth, the balance between destruction and creation. Its beauty came from corrosion, its color from decay. It taught that renewal is not the opposite of ruin, but its consequence. If you've ever grown stronger through pain, this stone tells your story. Tell us in the comments, do you think transformation always requires a little destruction? Today, malachite adorns jewelry, museum walls, and meditation halls alike. But unlike most gemstones, its value isn't in its hardness. It's soft, fragile, easily scratched. Its worth lies in its pattern, its scars. In every green swirl lies a chemical memory. Copper's death turned to color, metal reborn as mineral art. Collectors see beauty. Alchemists saw proof that all decay hides rebirth. The camera lingers on a polished slab, Light moves across it like breath over water. What once poisoned miners now decorates cathedrals. What once corroded metal now heals the eye. Malachite never changed. Only our understanding did. That is alchemy's truest inversion, when death becomes art and corrosion becomes creation. But even transformation has limits. What if a stone could hold light itself and never let it fade? Ranked 8th, quartz, the crystal that holds light itself. A satellite hums above the earth. Inside, a crystal vibrates 32,768 times per second, keeping perfect time. That crystal is quartz, the same mineral used in ancient altars, healing wands, and crowns of kings. It powers your watch, your computer, your civilization, but once it was believed to be the frozen breath of eternity. The Greeks called it krystallos, meaning ice so pure it could never thaw. In Japan, it was the frozen dragon's heart, and in Rome, lapis lazuli, the stone of water. For shamans, it was the clearest form of matter, the vessel of the divine. Temples from India to the Andes used rock crystal to focus sunlight into sacred fire, the union of light and matter. To them, quartz was not decoration, but conduit, a transparent bridge between worlds. It symbolized purity without emotion, power without corruption. Even when civilizations vanished, quartz remained, unchanged, untouched, unmoved. Quartz is silicon dioxide, SiO2, one of Earth's most abundant minerals, found in nearly every rock. But its perfection lies in its symmetry, a hexagonal lattice that repeats endlessly, creating structure from chaos. When electricity flows through it, the crystal vibrates with exact precision, the piezoelectric effect. It turns pressure into energy, energy into rhythm, a natural metronome for both machines and life itself. Each clear crystal is born deep in hydrothermal veins, growing millimeter by millimeter from silica-rich water. It can take thousands of years to form one flawless point. The result, nature's most patient architecture of light. To the alchemists, quartz represented claritas, the stage of revelation after transformation. If obsidian was the dark mirror and malachite the green catalyst, quartz was the purified soul, transparent, stable, eternal. They believed it could store the memory of light. In their manuscripts, drawings of rock crystal were annotated, lumen fixatum, fixed light. They used it to symbolize the Philosopher's stone itself. Matter turned to spirit without losing form. Even modern science echoes their intuition. Quartz crystals are used in clocks, computers, and radios to store and transmit information. They literally remember and resonate. The myth became physics. If this stone reminds you of something beyond its beauty, a feeling of order, calm, or timelessness, tell us below. Do you think light can be stored, or does it only pass through us? In meditation halls and laboratories alike, quartz is still revered for its precision. Monks used it to focus the mind. Scientists use it to measure the universe. Both seek the same thing, resonance, the rhythm of eternity. Each crystal is like a frozen echo of creation, transparent, impartial, incorruptible. It reflects nothing, yet refracts everything. It is what the alchemists sought not in gold or mercury, but in themselves. Clarity. The camera pans from a microchip's quartz oscillator back to a mountain cave. The hum of electronics fades into dripping water, silence, and stone. The light of the satellite becomes sunlight on the crystal. Same vibration, different age. The alchemists were right. The universe remembers itself, one frequency at a time. But light alone isn't memory. Some memories are trapped in time itself. Amber, nature's golden fossil of eternity. Ranked 7th. Amber, time frozen in gold. A mosquito, mid-flight, frozen forever in golden light. It's not a trick of glass or art, it's amber, fossilized tree resin, a droplet of sunlight that never dried. Inside it, 40 million years of silence hum softly, still intact. For alchemists and emperors alike, this was liquid time solidified, a proof that nature itself could preserve eternity. In every culture that touched it, amber was sacred. The Greeks called it electron because when rubbed it attracted straw and dust, the first discovery of electricity. They believed it was the solidified tears of the sun. In ancient China, it was hu po, the soul of tigers turned to resin. In the Baltic lands, it was gold of the sea, washing ashore after storms, glimmering like divine fragments. The Romans burned it as incense to bridge the world of gods and men. To the Egyptians, it embalmed the breath of the afterlife. Everywhere, amber symbolized the same thing: life arrested, yet radiant. Amber is not a mineral, but an organic, hardened resin from ancient coniferous trees. Over millions of years, pressure and heat polymerized its molecules, turning sticky sap into gem-like transparency. It's a process of natural transmutation, matter turning memory into stone. Found mainly in the Baltic region, Dominican Republic, and Myanmar, the oldest ambers date back more than 100 million years. Inside, scientists have found trapped air, pollen, flowers, feathers, and even tiny reptiles. Snapshots of evolution preserved in gold. Amber is nature's archive, the library of vanished worlds. To the alchemists, amber represented the fiery element imprisoned in matter. When burned, it released a sweet smoke, proving that even solid things remembered the sun. They wrote, "Amber is the soul of trees, risen from earth yet unspoiled by fire." It embodied fixation, the dream of solidifying the intangible. If mercury symbolized transformation, amber symbolized memory made eternal. It didn't change metals or bodies. It changed time itself. In Renaissance cabinets of curiosity, pieces of amber were kept beside fossils and bones, symbols of the earth's forgotten alchemy. If you could hold one moment of your life forever, what would you choose to trap in gold? Tell us below. What memory deserves to be eternal? Amber's value endured beyond legend. From Neolithic talismans to modern necklaces, it remains one of humanity's oldest adornments. Unlike gemstones, it is warm to the touch, light to hold, more alive than stone. Each piece hums with static when rubbed, carrying invisible electricity, the exact property that powers our world today. The ancients believed this was the soul of the sun still alive within it. Modern science agrees. Amber literally stores energy. In a museum drawer in Warsaw, a shard of amber glows softly under glass. Inside it, an ant raises its leg as if frozen mid-breath. 40 million years later, it still gestures toward the sky. No scripture, no metal, no empire has lasted as long as this tiny memory. Amber does not immortalize life, it remembers it. And perhaps that is the only kind of immortality nature ever intended. But not all memories are trapped in stone. Some are born from life itself, shaped by pain and polished by time. Ranked 6th, pearl, the gem born from pain. In the deep stillness of a lagoon, a grain of sand enters a shell. The creature closes and begins to heal. Layer upon layer, the wound becomes beauty. Years later, when the shell opens again, light spills out. A pearl, born not from fire or pressure, but from pain. The ancients called it the moon's tear, the only gem alive enough to cry. To the Greeks, pearls were tears of Aphrodite, fallen into the sea as she was born from foam. To the Chinese, they were crystallized dragon breaths, frozen at dawn. In ancient Persia, they formed when lightning struck the ocean. Every culture saw the same pattern, light born from sorrow. In medieval Europe, brides wore pearls not for wealth, but for protection, purity born through endurance. And in Japan, samurai carried pearls as symbols of honor, serving as a reminder that pain can be refined into virtue. Even now, pearls remain bound to emotion, the jewelry of remembrance, love, and loss. In alchemical manuscripts, pearls represented transmutation through water. Where metals demanded fire, the pearl achieved perfection in silence, through patience, not violence. They called it Lapis Lazuli, the water stone, and saw in it the philosophical inversion of gold. Gold was unyielding, eternal, proud. Pearl was soft, mortal, humble, yet equally radiant. The alchemists wrote, He who seeks eternity must pass through water, not flame. For them, the pearl was the soul purified not by conquest, but by compassion. Pearls form inside mollusks, oysters, mussels, clams, when an irritant, often a grain of sand or parasite, enters their shell. To protect itself, the creature secretes layers of nacre, aragonite crystals bound with organic protein. Over the years, these microscopic layers build harmony and luster, like a living chronicle of endurance. Natural pearls are scarce. Most on the market today are cultured, grown by human hands guiding nature's patience. From the Persian Gulf to Japan's Mi Prefecture, pearl divers once risked their lives for a single luminous sphere. Each dive was a small act of faith, chasing tears of the sea. In alchemy, the pearl was considered the heart externalized. It represented truth revealed, suffering transformed into serenity. Monks compared it to enlightenment. Scientists now see it as an organic biomineral, one of nature's most efficient defenses. Its lesson endures. The purest beauty often hides where the world would never look, inside a wound. If you've ever healed from something that hurt, this stone is your reflection. Tell us in the comments, what pain in your life became your pearl? The camera lingers on a single pearl, no sparkle, no shadow, just quiet glow. We see nothing around it, only the reflection of light moving like breath. It doesn't dazzle, it forgives, and that forgiveness is what makes it eternal. But light alone is not wisdom. To see beyond the heavens, one must look into the sky itself, carved in stone, Lapis Lazuli. Ranked 5th, Lapis Lazuli, the blue stone, that connected heaven and earth. In the sands of Afghanistan's Badakhshan Mountains, miners still dig for a blue that once colored the gods. Lapis Lazuli, deep ultramarine, speckled with gold pyrite-like stars trapped in the night. For thousands of years, this stone connected the earth to the sky and became the pigment of eternity itself. In ancient Egypt, lapis was sacred to Isis and Osiris, worn by pharaohs as a seal of divine vision. Tutankhamun's funeral mask gleamed with its blue veins. Cleopatra ground it into powder for her royal eyeshadow. To the Sumerians, it was the flesh of the gods. To the Persians, the vault of heaven itself. And to the Hebrews, it became the sapphire of the commandments. Moses' glimpse of the divine carved in blue light. Every civilization that touched lapis saw the same truth. Wisdom is blue. In alchemical texts, lapis lazuli was not just a mineral, it was the philosopher's stone of consciousness. The word lapis itself, Latin for stone, became synonymous with enlightenment. They wrote, "The true lapis is not dug from the earth, but awakened in the soul." Its color represented the stage of Caeruleus, illumination after purification. Just as the night sky hides infinite suns, the human mind hides infinite truths. To polish the stone was to polish thought, to make the soul reflect the cosmos. Lapis symbolized the highest goal of alchemy, not gold, not immortality, but understanding. Lapis lazuli is a metamorphic rock composed mainly of lazurite, with flecks of pyrite, iron sulfide, and veins of calcite. Its only primary ancient source was the Sari Sang mines in northern Afghanistan. The same deposit has been mined continuously for over 6,000 years. From there, traders carried it along the Silk Road to Mesopotamia, Egypt, and Rome. In the Renaissance, it was ground into ultramarine pigment, rarer and costlier than gold. Michelangelo and Vermeer reserved it for the robes of the Virgin Mary. Color as divinity. Even today, no synthetic blue matches its depth. Its hue feels infinite because it contains infinity. For mystics, lapis represents truth expressed without fear. In Tibet, monks wore it on the throat to strengthen speech and song. In medieval Europe, it symbolized the Virgin's silence that carried wisdom beyond words. It bridges heaven and earth, light and matter, sound and silence. The complete union the alchemists sought. Even modern science finds resonance. Its lazurite structure scatters light like the atmosphere itself, making blue not a pigment, but a vibration. If you've ever stared at the night sky and felt it looking back, this stone holds that gaze. Tell us below, What truth would you carve in blue if time allowed? The camera closes on a piece of an ancient lapis tablet with cuneiform that is faint but still legible. 6,000 years of dust, yet the blue remains untouched. Empires burned, languages vanished, but this stone still whispers the same message. All knowledge is preserved, not in books, but in color. As the light fades, gold pyrite flecks glint like constellations, a miniature sky, archived in rock. But wisdom alone does not bring peace. For that, the ancients turned to green, the stone of harmony and immortal balance. Ranked fourth, Jadeite, the stone of eternal harmony. Under dim light, a craftsman in Mandalay polishes a green stone with reverence. It's not emerald nor glass, it's jadeite, a gem harder than steel, yet soft in presence. In his culture, it isn't just a stone, it's life itself, eternal, tranquil, unbreakable in spirit. For thousands of years, people didn't wear jade to show wealth. They wore it to remember peace. In ancient China, jade was called yu, the essence of heaven and earth. It adorned emperors in life and guarded them in death. The Han dynasty buried their kings in jade suits sewn with gold wire, believing that pure jade prevented decay and guided the soul beyond. The Book of Rites described jade's virtues: benevolence, righteousness, wisdom, and faith. It was the Confucian ideal material, tangible morality. Each shade of green mirrored a human quality: soft, balanced, patient. To hold jade was to touch the philosophy of life itself. Alchemists revered jade not for transformation, but for stability. It symbolized the element of earth perfected by spirit, the state when all opposites reconcile. In Taoist traditions, jade was the physical manifestation of qi, life energy made visible. They wrote, "Gold nourishes the body, but jade nourishes the soul." Unlike other stones, jade didn't promise immortality through power or fire. It promised it through harmony. The ancients believed that if a person lived with a jade heart, gentle, sincere, balanced, their essence would outlive their flesh. Jadeite is a pyroxene mineral, sodium aluminum silicate, NaLSi 2O6, formed under extreme pressure deep within metamorphic rocks. It's rarer and harder than nephrite, its softer cousin. The finest jadeite comes from Myanmar's Kachin state, its colors ranging from milky white to deep emerald green, known as imperial jade. Across Asia, from China to Mesoamerica, jade was carved into tools, seals, and sacred sculptures. The Olmec civilization called it Chalchihuetl, the breath of the gods. In both hemispheres, East and West, it meant the same thing: life in balance with eternity. To scientists, jadeite is remarkably tough. Its interlocking microcrystals resist breaking better than diamond. To philosophers, that strength without brittleness mirrored virtue, flexible yet enduring. Unlike gold, which gleams for attention, jade whispers. Its beauty demands silence, contemplation, and continuity. When light passes through it, it doesn't dazzle. It glows from within. That inner luminescence became a metaphor for wisdom, illumination without ego. If peace itself had a color, it would be this one. Tell us below, what do you think is stronger, fire that transforms or calm that endures? The camera lingers on a single jade bangle resting in sunlight. No music, no words, only the sound of breath and time. The green surface reflects nothing, only depth. Jade doesn't promise eternity, it embodies it. No flame, no sound, no decay, only stillness that never ends. But even in stillness, something watches, a gaze that never sleeps, from a stone said to guard the soul itself. Ranked third, Chrysoberyl cat's eye, the gem that watches back. A beam of light cuts through darkness, and the stone stares back. Not sparkle, not reflection. A single luminous slit moves across its surface, alive, aware. This is Chrysoberyl cat's eye, a gemstone that sees. For centuries, rulers, priests, and sorcerers wore it as protection against the unseen. But the question was never what it saw. It was what it saw. In India, Cat's Eye was sacred to Ketu, the shadow planet, harbinger of fate and unseen forces. Astrologers called it the Eye of the Invisible. They believed it could warn its wearer before danger came, a flicker of light when death approached. To the Romans, it was the Eye of Minerva, goddess of wisdom. To the Persians, it was the guardian of the afterlife. Sailors carried it as a compass of light, believing its shifting line mirrored the sun's path even through storms. Everywhere it stood for perception beyond sight. It didn't promise protection through power, but through awareness. To alchemists, Cat's Eye represented the final gate before transcendence, when the seeker no longer transforms matter, but is transformed by it. They described it as the lumen vigilans, the living light that awakens when the ego dissolves. They believed that when the line of light in a cat's eye moved, it was the soul acknowledging itself. Alchemy had come full circle. Consciousness reflecting consciousness. The texts warn, "He who looks into the eye of light will see himself watched." In the philosophy of transformation, this was the moment the alchemist ceased to be the observer and became the observed. Chrysoberyl cat's eye owes its vision to chatoyancy. Tiny parallel fibers or hollow tubes inside the crystal reflect light in a single sharp line that glides across the surface as it moves. This natural phenomenon occurs mainly in chrysoberyl, a beryllium aluminum oxide found in Sri Lanka, Brazil, and Madagascar. The most prized stones display a silver-white eye on honey green or golden yellow bodies. Gemologists call the perfect centered light the milk and honey effect, harmony between brightness and depth. To create that illusion, nature performs a miracle of alignment. Millions of fibers frozen in exact parallel. A geometry so precise it seems intentional. Every culture that encountered cat's eye agreed on one thing: it was alive. They said it could sense deceit, repel evil, even mirror the truth of one's heart. But the alchemist saw something subtler, a paradox. If you stare long enough into its shifting line, you realize you are not watching light move. Light is watching you. If you've ever felt that certain objects seem to observe you, or that some presence lives within silence, this stone will make you question which side of reality you stand on. The camera moves closer. The line of light widens, then narrows, like a pulse. Suddenly, it's no longer a reflection, but an iris. You blink first. In that instant, the seeker and the stone trade places. The experiment has inverted. The philosopher's stone is no longer a thing you find. It's the gaze that finds you. But beyond the watcher lies something greater. Not perception, not change, but pure indestructibility. The ultimate form of being, diamond. Ranked second, emerald, the philosopher's stone of eternal balance. In a museum vault, beneath bulletproof glass, rests a small fractured tablet of green stone. Legend says it once bore the words of Hermes Trismegistus, the father of alchemy. Its message, infinite yet straightforward. That which is above is as that which is below. The world calls it the Emerald Tablet. The truth is, no one ever proved it was emerald. But every alchemist since has believed the same thing, that within green lies the secret symmetry of the universe. Emerald has always belonged to visionaries. Cleopatra adorned herself with it as a sign of divine authority. Emperor Nero watched gladiators through a polished emerald lens to calm his eyes. The first sunglasses in history. To the Incas, emerald was the eye of the earth. To the Vedas, it was the light of compassion. Wherever it was found, Egypt, Colombia, India, it carried the same message. Seeing truly is divine. In medieval Europe, scholars believed emeralds sharpened intellect and revealed truth in dreams. To gaze into its green was to align the human mind with the harmony of creation. In alchemical manuscripts, emerald represented the union of spirit and matter in perfect equilibrium. Gold symbolized perfection, silver, purity. But emerald was understanding, the bridge between knowing and being. It was said that the philosopher's stone was not red or gold, but green, the color of eternal life. The emerald tablet itself, real or myth, was their central code. All things are one, differing only in vibration. This belief wasn't superstition. It was early physics disguised as mysticism. The alchemists saw in emerald the vibration of balance, the same resonance modern science finds in electromagnetic waves and chlorophyll's light conversion. Emerald was the first theory of harmony, before equations, before proof. Emerald is a beryl colored by traces of chromium and vanadium. It forms under rare geological conditions. Magma's heat meets hydrothermal fluid, pressure fusing opposites, fire and water, into crystal. Primary sources include Colombia's Muzo mines, Zambia, and Ethiopia. Each gem bears microscopic inclusions: jardin, French for garden, tiny fractures filled with fluid and gas. To gemologists, they're imperfections. To philosophers, they're landscapes. Worlds within worlds, reflections of the universe itself. Even its flaws shimmer like constellations, as if every emerald carries a map of creation. Emerald's color lies at the center of the visible spectrum, between warm and cool, between passion and reason. That balance made it the stone of divine perception. In ancient texts, it was said to reveal lies, calm madness, and grant inner vision. Modern psychology calls this intuition, the harmony between heart and intellect. To wear emerald was to see clearly, not just the world, but oneself. And in that clarity, alchemists believed one glimpsed eternity. If truth had a color, it would be this: alive, balanced, eternal. Tell us below, do you think enlightenment is found or remembered? The camera pans from the ancient green tablet to a modern microscope slide. The same hue, the same geometry. Whether in stone or cell, the pattern repeats. Emerald's secret was never immortality. It was understanding the laws that make immortality possible. As above, so below. As within, so without. But knowledge alone is not completion. Every transformation begins and ends with one stone, the one that made all others possible. In first place, the Philosopher's Stone, the secret that transformed humanity. Every civilization searched for it: Egyptian priests, Persian magi, Chinese immortals, European alchemists, all chasing one impossible dream: the Philosopher's Stone. They believed it could turn lead into gold, cure all diseases, and grant eternal life. But after centuries of pursuit, one truth emerged. No one ever found it. And yet, it changed everything. Because the secret of the Philosopher's Stone was never about creation. It was about understanding creation itself. In Hermetic texts, the stone is called Lapis Philosophorum, the child of sun and moon, spirit and matter united. The emerald tablet spoke of its birth in riddles. It rises from earth to heaven and descends again to earth, combining within itself the powers of both. To the alchemists, this wasn't poetry, it was an instruction. They saw the stone as the point where transformation becomes perfection, where the elements no longer fight but harmonize. Gold was only a metaphor. True transmutation was of the soul. The path to the stone mirrored human life itself: nigredo, the blackening, confronting chaos and death; albedo, the whitening, purification through understanding; rubedo, the reddening, reunion with divine fire. Each stage mirrored nature's cycles: decay, clarity, rebirth. Every material experiment was a spiritual rehearsal. In the lab, they refined metal. In themselves, they refined meaning. The Philosopher's Stone wasn't a reward. It was the result of living consciously through transformation. Modern science unknowingly inherited the exact search. Alchemy's dream of transmutation lives in nuclear physics, where elements are literally transformed, one atom at a time. Its dream of eternal life persists in genetics and medicine, and its belief in the unity of matter and energy. Einstein's equation fulfilled it. In every era, humanity rediscovers the same lesson: all forms change, nothing ends. In that truth lies immortality, not as duration, but as continuation. Artists, monks, and scientists alike found the same image in meditation and experiment: a single circle divided by 4 elements, glowing at the center, the lapis. It represented the moment when opposites dissolve, when the seeker becomes what they sought. That's why every philosopher's stone is different. For some, it's love. For others, knowledge. For the alchemist, it was the realization that everything is already gold. If you've ever rebuilt yourself after being broken, you've already touched this stone. Tell us below, what part of you did time fail to destroy? Legends say those who achieved the stone vanish quietly, leaving no trace, not because they died, but because they no longer needed to. Their names fade from history, but their work became the foundation of modern chemistry, philosophy, and art. They discovered that to transform the world, one must first be transformed, and in that moment they became the philosopher's stone itself. A single red gold spark flickers in the darkness. It glows, breathes, and then disappears. Silence. No resolution, no revelation, only reflection. Because the stone was never found, it was realized. As above, so below. As within, so without. And so, our journey through the top 15 Alchemist's stones comes to an end. But the search for meaning, transformation, and immortality never truly stops. Each of these stones, from the fire of sulfur to the wisdom of lapis and the silence of jade, reminds us that the real secret of alchemy was never about turning lead into gold. It was about turning experience into understanding. The earth forged these treasures over millions of years, yet their most significant value lies not in what they're made of, but in what they make us remember, that every spark, every fracture, and every imperfection is part of the same story, the human desire to become more than matter. If you've enjoyed this journey, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Tops, your window into the hidden world where science meets legend. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next episode, where another chapter of Earth's timeless secrets awaits.